Welcome to Hey, it's Carly Rae's Book Club. This is Book Editing 101, where editors join me to chat all about editing. From tips to tricks, I got you covered. Today, editor at the Parliament House Press, Sophia DeSensi, joins me to discuss the most popular question in the editing world: what is editing? We'll start chatting right after this. Welcome, Sophia. Tell us where you're joining us from.
Hi, I'm coming from Jupiter, Florida.
And is it sunny today?
No, it's quite cloudy today, actually.
Now, tell us more about where you went to school, your publishing house, and what books you've edited.
So I went to the University of Central Florida for my bachelor's degree, which I got in creative writing and medical anthropology. And then I went on to earn my master's in writing popular fiction at Seton Hill University, which was a really great program. That was kind of like an apprenticeship program rather than like a typical master's program. So we worked very closely with really like best-selling authors, which was really unique. So they're not typically professors. They fly in specifically to teach this program. So I got to work with a lot of really great professionals and even some people from Kirkus Reviews and literary agents and other editors. So it was a really great experience.
Yeah. And then you went on to work at the Parliament House Press?
Yes. And then right after I graduated, it was kind of like in the November area. I graduated in January. I applied to the Parliament House Press and they hired me, and I've enjoyed working there ever since.
And what books have you worked on since? Have they been like fantasy, YA?
Yes. So our house typically represents young adult and new adult speculative fiction, so fantasy, sci-fi, and horror. And the books I've worked on are all young adult fantasy. One was Awakened by Sierra Dugan, who did really well, and she's now being translated into Italian, which is great. And then I worked on A Beast and Burden by Kelsey Kicklighter and The Half Class by Cavion Lewis.
Now, I think editing a novel takes a special gift, but one misconception and one thing readers struggle to really decipher is the basic question of what editing really is. So, Sophia, tell us, what is editing in the world of publishing?
Well, I think editing is just a way to make your reader accessible to a wider audience. A lot of writers, they start out writing for themselves, which is great. I think that's a good thing to do for your first draft. But really in genre fiction, the goal is entertainment. So it needs to be accessible and relatable to a wider young adult audience in your genre. So a way to do that is through editing and enhancing particular prose issues and making them stronger so that it can be really like engaging and hooking and an intimate experience for the reader.
Yeah. Now, one question I had when I first started writing is, are all published books edited?
Yes, all published books are edited. In the traditional world, you usually have a literary agent and they will submit to your editor, and then your editor will work with you for maybe a year, 2 years, depending on the amount of work needed. So yes, they're heavily edited before you see what's on the shelf.
Now, does editing mean you're a bad writer?
No, not at all. Everyone needs to edit. It's a really important skill to learn on your own, I think, too. Self-editing is very important, especially for new writers. When you're querying, you want to make sure your novel's as polished as possible. So having a really strong self-editing base is going to help you in the long run, especially when you become published, because your deadlines are going to be so tight. So if you can really rely on yourself more than your editor and literary agent to guide you, that's going to benefit you even more.
Now, at what stage does an editor work on a client's novel? From the very beginning, when it's like first picked up?
So typically in the traditional world, you will query a literary agent. And once you get your literary agent, they'll work with you on edits as well, preparing you for submission. And then you'll go on submission for a publishing house. And the acquiring editor at that publishing house will purchase your book, and you will work with that editor through developmental and line edit stages.
Mm-hmm. Now, what does editing a manuscript or book do for a writer? Earlier, you said it kind of enhances the prose. So does it allow them to kind of see the book in a different light?
Yes, I think it does show you areas of improvement that you might not have seen on your own. It's a very collaborative process, even with your literary agent and your editor. They'll all give you feedback that you might not have seen and be able to enhance prose issues, but also structural issues too. If it's a fantasy, it could be world building type things to strengthen that. It could be your environment, many aspects in the developmental area will be improved. And I think it's great to get outside opinions, and also your editor will discuss with you the intention of your book so that you can work together to solve those issues. So it's not them just telling you what to do with your book, but it's a collaborative process of coming together to figure out how to improve your work.
Now tell viewers what made you want to edit novels.
So I found I really enjoyed editing books in my master's program. We did a lot of workshops, and every month we were assigned critique partners that we worked with. And I really loved finding areas of improvement in my peers' work. So I went on to decide to be an editor, and I've loved it. It's really great. I think it's a really creative process because you are using craft in a different way than writing to solve these areas. And they might be things that the writer hadn't seen themselves. And when you present it to them and then something clicks, it's like, it makes you really happy to improve their work.
Yeah. Now, is there anything else you want to add about editing, or any books you suggest for those watching to check out?
Yes, there are a few books that I really love to recommend to all authors. Self-Editing for Fiction Writers is really great for prose. And then GMC by Deborah Dixon and Save the Cat by Blake Snyder is a really great one for the structural elements.
Well, there you have it. I also put all the links of where you can get those books in the description below. You heard Sophia answer the most important and basic question: what is editing in the world of publishing? Now, Sophia, before you leave us on Book Editing 101, tell viewers where they can find you on social media.
You can find me at Sophia DeSensi on Instagram and Twitter, and my website is www.authorSophiaDeSensi.com.
Well, that concludes the first episode of Book Editing 101 with editor at the Parliament House Press, Sophia DeSensi. Stay tuned for episode 2, where we will discuss the different stages of editing. In the meantime, you can follow me, HeyitsCarlyRae, on social media. All the links are in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a great day, and remember, be yourself always.